Welcome to Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton, where we equip pastors to take their churches from declining to thriving by pointing them to a new future and a new hope. Join us weekly for encouragement and practical advice in your pastoring journey.
I am so excited about what we're talking about today. This is Revitalize and Replant with Mark Clifton. There's Mark, and that would be Mark Clifton. There's Mark Hallock.
Hey.
I'm Dan Hurst.
I'm on the left, Hallock's on the right.
That's right.
You're looking at your radio, I'm on the left side of the dial, Hallock's on the right, and Dan's right in the middle.
Stereo is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Okay, here's why I'm excited about this. Years ago, I got a call from a pastor who wanted me to come and serve at a church there, and I'm not even going to tell you where. And he said to me, you need to come to this church. He said, it is the worst church in the Southern Baptist Convention.
Is that one Independence?
No.
Sorry.
No. Far away. And he said, I don't like the people. He said, I don't like the church. He says, I don't like the city. He says, but would you come in view of a call? I went, no, absolutely not. And he said, no, come on down. He said, I already told him that you would come at least in view of a call. Think of it as a vacation. Oh, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. But Marcia and I went. Interestingly enough, Marcia was pregnant with our first child at the time, so she wasn't feeling that great anyway. We got down there, and this guy was right. What a terrible place, It was just, and we just said, no, this isn't for us. 3 months later, there we were.
Is that right?
Turned out to be one of the greatest ministries I've ever had in my life. The reason I am so excited about this particular topic is because we're talking about how do you learn to love your people? How do you learn to love your community? Do we even have a title for this particular podcast?
No, it's a contest. If you'd like to title this podcast, please address your cards and letters to Title the Podcast, Post Office Box 14.
Well, you got an article and talking about falling in love with your community.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to talk about that. Guys are always asking me, hey, how do I love my community? And, it's important to have activities that express love and compassion to your community. But sometimes we skip a step, Mark Hallock. The first step is the pastor has to love the community.
Amen. Why is that so important?
It's because otherwise it's sort of like we're manipulative. We want to love the community so they'll come to our church. Or love the community so the church will grow and I won't get fired or something like that.
Yeah.
But really, it begins not with what are the activities I can do to love my community. It begins with how do I as a pastor genuinely love my community?
That's right.
And if I genuinely love my community, then out of that overflow, it won't be hard to figure out ways for my church to lead my church to love the community. Yeah. I think we skip that stage. That stage.
Well, and one of the things you say a lot, which is so true, is sadly in a lot of declining churches, it's easy to blame the community. They're the problem rather than the mission field. And so if we as leaders and pastors are not pursuing and loving the community, how can we ever expect our congregations to fall in love with the community?
Well, we said all the time, one of the death wheezes of a church is when it resents the community for not responding as it once did. And sometimes if your church is in decline and the community seems to be hostile to you, it's hard to even like the community, let alone love the community. They don't love you. Sometimes they wish you weren't there. We have some pretty strong cultural headwinds.
Yep.
They think we're the problem. But the point is, you can't lead your church to love the community if you, as the pastor and your family, don't love the community.
That's the bottom line. Yep.
So let's talk about 6 or 7 ways that our friend Sam Rayner helps us as pastors to love our community. The first one is obvious, but it's important.
Yep.
What is it, Mark?
Okay, I like how he puts it. He says, don't go home. Now, what does he mean by don't go home?
Don't go back to some place you're comfortable with, some place you're familiar with, some place that you like, that your kids like, that your wife likes, where all your family is, where all your relationships are. Don't go wherever home might be.
Yes.
If you're in a different place in this church, in its environment, the stores aren't the same, the culture's not the same, the schools aren't the same, maybe your extended family isn't there, maybe they don't drink sweet tea, they drink regular tea, they don't have barbecue, whatever. It just doesn't seem like home, right?
Yep.
And sometimes we just want to get back home. And I've heard guys say that, and I want to be careful, but I've heard guys say, man, I just want to get back home. I want to go back to my people, to my place.
Yeah.
And I think I love it when he says, man, just stay there. God calls church leaders to minister in a place as well as to a congregation.
Yeah.
If you're looking for any chance to leave that place, then you're not being a good gospel ambassador. Stay. Just stay there.
And ask the Lord. Seek the Lord's face. Say, Lord, help me to fall in love with this place.
How many times have I worked with guys who, in Alaska particularly, or in Hawaii, places like that, in the Northeast, guys who come from the South, and they're very excited about these new places and all the potential and all the opportunity and the lack of evangelical church witness, or in Montreal where I was, and then you get there, and after the newness wears off, it doesn't feel like home, and it's not a comfortable place, and you sort of long for something familiar. And there's this desire to want to go back. And I really believe the first thing you got to do is just fight that and say, this is my home.
This is my home.
This is my home right here, right now. This is my home.
Well, don't you have to decide what is home? You know, what makes it home?
Right.
You know, I mean, why is it that you want to go home? You know, what is it about there that makes it so special? And then that takes you to these next steps that we're talking about, because these become what is so special about home.
Yeah, and how do you make it your home? And these next steps are not only how do you love the place, but how do you actually make it your home?
So number 2, ready to number 2?
Yeah, go ahead.
Join the fun. Join the fun. I love this. He says every community has unique ways or occasions it celebrates. And then he says jump in and contribute to the celebration. Only the most hardened of curmudgeons can hang on to bitterness when everyone around them is having fun. That's so true, man.
If you're in a rural area, man, go to the 4-H fair.
Totally.
And go all day and sit there and sweat and watch the hogs and watch the demolition derby and the tractor pulls. If you're in the urban core, go to some of the ethnic festivals and hang out and eat all the food. You know, if you're in a small town and they got a corn festival, go to the corn festival. And don't just make one quick walkthrough, but hang out with the people, get to know the people. Engage in the culture of your community. In fact, if you don't know about your culture, that's okay. People like to talk about their culture. And so ask them about it. Say, man, I don't know anything about harvesting corn. What's this corn festival? And you'll get some old man that'll talk to you all day about it.
Love it.
You know, so find out. People like to talk about their stories and about their heritage and about their history. Man, it's a great opportunity for you to own it and embrace it and have your kids embrace it. Jump in with both feet.
That's right.
Totally.
Go all in, man.
I did have years ago when I was a state missions leader in Kansas and Nebraska. There's a lot of Nebraska counties that are Lutheran or Catholic. Just depending on back in the day, the railroads, back in the 1880s, they would put ads in the papers in Northeast, in Chicago and Philadelphia and New York, and offer free land. And so entire communities would move out there. So like you'll have one county in Nebraska that's almost all Lutheran. The very next county is almost all Catholic. And it's kind of like who got here first. So this one guy was planting a church up there in a very Lutheran county, and still very Germanic in their history. So they had a big beer festival every fall. I'm not telling you he should jump in with both feet and enjoy the beer festival, but he put himself in opposition to it, and he protested it
and lost the trust of the people.
It's like, you know, I don't know how you work through that really. There's got to be some way, you know, not to engage in beer drinking and appreciate alcoholism, but at the same time not show up as a brand new person and hate the culture immediately.
I mean, isn't it just acknowledging? It's asking the question. I mean, it's like when you know, I think about, as we're talking about this, when I started dating my wife and we get married, and I'm part of her family now. And what do I want to do? I want to learn, what are the customs here? What matters to Jenna's family? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What do they love? I want to learn to love those things because my wife loves those things. Does that make sense?
I guarantee you that the beer festival, the Oktoberfest, whatever they call it, Oktoberfest, which had a lot to do with drinking beer. It also had a lot to do with their culture back in Germany and their family and their homes and all that kind of thing. I'm not telling you it's easy to embrace those cultures, and I'm not telling you, obviously, you should jump in with both feet and get all involved in the distribution and sale of alcohol. But I am saying that whatever your community likes and enjoys, you've got to learn about that. And you can't just come out and be totally opposed to it at all.
Which kind of brings us to the third point, and that is live with the people.
Now,
it's more than just an attitude. It's live with the people.
Be with the people.
Yeah, he says specifically, don't move to the outskirts or on the edge of your community, on the fringe of your community. If at all possible, live right in the heart of it. Just be part of the texture, part of the heartbeat. Wherever the community is at its center focus, try to be there. Try to live there.
Be part of the community.
Again, sometimes we want to sort of be in there but not in there. It's a foreign place to us. It doesn't feel like home. We kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He basically says, just throw yourself all the way in there. Just
now, there are obviously
what?
Times when that can't be. And you're an example of that with Warnell.
Well, thanks for pointing that out.
But I mean, it worked. It worked for you, though. You made it work.
I know. I didn't live right in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but you went the extra mile to make sure you were in that community, and it
would have been better had I been in it.
Yeah.
And the pastors that followed me were in it, and it was a lot better. For them.
Well, and talk about that. Why?
Because they could have people in their homes.
Yep.
And they could invite people in, and it was much better. Yes, I did not live in my neighborhood at Warnell. Thank you for pointing that out.
It was just an example.
And after I stepped in that whole thing of the Oktoberfest.
Well, now,
by the way, somebody bail me out on that.
Well, let me put some
really
of this load on my.
I just want to make it clear, I'm not in favor of beer drinking. I just need to make that
I think we know, bud. I think you've made that
Unless
clear.
you don't live in the community, and then
Somebody gives Clifton a hug real quick.
Here's you have to walk around like Carrie Nation and try to destroy their holiday. Okay.
All right. Well, here's an example about what you're talking about. I don't live real close to the church I serve. But that was because I lived here before I went to that church, and so I'm still living in the home I lived in, 127 years ago. But here's the thing. Part of the problem with that is that people don't feel comfortable coming to my house because it's so far away.
Right, exactly.
Yep. And in fact, I have invited people to come to our house, and they go, "Oh, we don't go over there."
Yeah.
Because we live in kind of an affluent neighborhood, and people feel uncomfortable coming here.
Right.
And so that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a barrier.
It was the first time Mark and I showed up, and we had to go through the gate, and the security agent.
And they didn't let us in. They saw Clifton.
What'd you think about all the black Suburbans waiting?
That's right, waiting the
all right.
security. Okay, but let me just say this: I grew up in a parsonage where the property was attached to the church.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like to live in the community. And, it can be a fishbowl, and there can be some desire. In fact, let's just be frank about it. Most guys do not live in parsonages anymore. There came a time 20, 30 years ago when pastors said, I don't want this anymore. First of all, I want to own a home because I can build financial equity, number one. Number two, I want to have a little bit of independence away from the church building. You grew up next door to the church. Basically, you're in the church. I mean, people drive by and see if your lawn's mowed, if your bicycle's put away, what time you go to bed, what time you get up. They know everything about your life. But the reality of it is there's something very special about living in the heart of that community and having your home available. And at Warnell, I was several miles away. And so I made an effort every single day to get there and be in the community every day and be involved and engaged. But then the pastors who followed me, they bought houses right there in the neighborhood, and the church is twice as large now as when I left, and they're able to just invite people in their home, and they're able to walk to church with their family. It is so different. Yeah. So if you can, by all means, make it a priority to live in the center of your community.
Okay.
Such a good point.
Number four.
I don't like number 4.
Stop complaining.
Stop complaining.
Not saying that to you, Dan. I'm saying.
So I love my community, and I love what he says. You love it by you make a decision not to go home. That basically it is your home.
Yeah.
You join the fun, except for the Oktoberfest, and then you live with the people. You live close to it. But then he says, stop complaining.
Yeah.
Oh, man. They don't have the restaurants here we had at home.
That's
they
right.
don't have the grocery store like I used to have.
People aren't as friendly.
Really aren't as friendly here.
I like the way that the old high school football coach was just a way better guy.
Or the weather here is really hard to get used to. You've got... Don't complain about the area.
No.
You're not going to win people over.
Dude, listen, here's what Sam says. He says, it's difficult to grow a church when you're gaining a reputation as the town killjoy.
Yeah, really.
Dude, that is so true.
It is. You should just don't complain about the town.
That's right.
Don't complain about the culture. Don't complain about the weather.
Yep.
Don't complain.
And listen, the people might, if you're cracking jokes, like, well, they think it's funny. Listen, they don't actually think it's that funny.
You're an outsider.
Yeah.
Now, they may complain.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
They can complain all day long.
That's right.
But don't you join in.
That's right.
One of the things that I loved about the first time that we went and did the podcast at Hallock's church in Englewood, Colorado, was that he was so excited about the community, talking about this restaurant, talking about these people, I mean, it was obvious that you were in love with your community, and I think that's the key right there. What do you talk about? Yeah. You know, that'll talk about whether or not you're complaining about where you live. And just that do an assessment. What do I talk about? What do I think about? You know,
because people listen, and the truth is this: if you're excited about your community, other people will become excited about your community. Mm-hmm. If you're a killjoy and discouraged, and you don't want to be around the community, guess what? They'll follow you in that. So how are you leading with a love and a vision to reach this community, to serve this community for the glory of God, or do you see it as a burden because it will shape people?
Warnell, again, because I didn't live in the community, I went to extreme effort to engage myself in the community in so many ways. And actually, one of them was to just help the schools, help the community, help the parks, help everything. And so I was always being a civic person. And I know one day there's a terrible problem at the high school football stadium. Long story, I won't get into it. But the news media came out to interview me about it. And so I was telling them about the struggles and how we need to work at this stadium, make it better, make it safer. And that night on the news, on the chyron under my name, it didn't say Mark Clifton, pastor at Warnell Road Baptist Church. It said Mark Clifton, community activist. And I thought, wow. I'm pretty excited about that. Because the community sees me, as someone who's active in there, not just looking out after my own constituents in my church, but the whole community.
Right.
Yeah.
And like we would have this huge Irish parade on St. Patrick's Day, the week before St. Patrick's Day in Brookside. And it went right by our church. And so not obviously, but we decided we would open up the church building for people to use the restrooms because that's important on a long-time parade, and give away water and stuff. We had a big flagpole in front of our church. So every time, that whole week, we would raise the Irish flag. And then
that's interesting.
I know. And then during the parade, we had this clarion up in our steeple. And during the parade, we played nothing but Irish music all during the parade. You don't know how many people thought that was so cool that our church would raise the Irish flag during the parade and play Irish music. Just little things like that where you show you're enjoying the community rather than to complain about it and say all these people are traipsing through our yard. We got all this traffic because of the parade. All that kind of stuff.
Totally.
All right, I know I'm going
go with
long.
number 5. Keep going, because I think what you're saying, number 5 is stay active.
Well, that's just what I said.
And that's what you're saying.
Yeah, do stuff in your community, volunteer in your community, shop in your community, get your hair cut in your community, drink coffee in your community, walk around your community, and volunteer in your community, and stay active, stay involved, stay out there, let people see you.
Yes.
Look, I know we need to study for our sermons, but some of you study too much for your sermon. Can I just be honest with you? How's that? I don't think. Look, you can't spend too much time in spiritual preparation for your message. There's no limit to that. But I think when you're talking about a 30 or 40-minute message every week, I think it's important to spend a number of hours doing that. But some of your sermon preparation takes place in the coffee shop and in the barber shop and walking around and meeting people, so you'll know who your potential congregation is, so you'll know how to preach.
That's one of the things, Clifton, that we say with our guys as we're raising up replanters is you can't just live in your study all week. In fact,
you can. It's a safe place.
Well, yeah, you can. I guess you can, but that's one of the challenges.
It is.
At least one day a week, find a coffee shop, mix it up, and study there. But be on the lookout for people. Engage people. Talk to people.
Stay active. Be involved.
By the way, if you're not active, don't expect your people to be active in the community.
Right. Okay, and then he says, join a civic organization. I say all the time when guys are saying, how do I reach my community? Man, find out where all the nonprofits are in your community and see how you personally can volunteer in those. You'll get to know so much about your community if you volunteer for Meals on Wheels or for any number of different kinds of things, and find out where the needs are. You'll get to know who's the movers. When I went to Warnell, had a terrible problem. I still do with murder in Kansas City. So, man, I hooked up with the ad hoc committee against crime and a bunch of Mothers in Charge, which are parents of murder victims, and just threw myself into that and got very involved in those kinds of civic organizations. And in doing that, really began to get the feel for the community, and they got the feel for me. So stay active and join a civic organization.
Can I throw out one other idea there? Is if you're a sports guy, volunteer to help coach the local high school team or coach T-ball.
They always need T-ball.
They need, find something. One of my great friends has been an assistant football coach at the local high school for years. man, he knows everybody in that community. He's Pastor Dan. And so I would just say, if you're a sports guy, man, get involved in that way, some way with sports, with youth sports or something in the community as well.
Man, don't go home. Stay where you are. Make that your home. Join in the fun. Live among the people. Stop complaining. Stay active. Join some organizations. And finally, Mark.
Finally, try something new on a regular basis. In other words, break the routine. Go to different restaurants.
Yes.
This is what we were kind of saying. Get creative, man.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, what restaurant, like right now, practically this week, here's a challenge. Go to a restaurant you've never been to in your community.
That's right.
And don't just go there for yourself.
Right.
Go there with eyes open, and this should be anywhere you go if you're thinking as a missionary. Get to know the waitress or waiter's name.
Right.
Find out who the chef is. Find out the greet. Meet people. Talk to people. See what's going on there. And continue to learn about new places and where people are hanging out. It's this is part of the joy, quite frankly.
One of the things I like that Andy Addis has said, it's been one of my mantras, is that pastors need a hobby because a hobby makes you interesting. And I live that. I have model trains. I have telephone insulators. I have vintage watches. I have bluegrass promotion. I've joined all those clubs, all right? I'm a member of all those organizations. And so I get to be engaged with people I would never normally engage with and learn a whole lot of new things. And they get to see me in a way they don't normally see me. And I just become more interesting because I got more opportunities to connect with people. Do something new. If you never played pickleball, join a pickleball league.
Yeah.
If you join a bowling league. We used to say that's years ago, but back when I was a young church planter, they'd say, man, go join a non-church bowling league. You'll hang out with 4 guys you don't know. You'll get to play with them. Same with golf. There were times back when I used to play golf and I was planting churches 40 years ago. I would just go out to the Grain Valley Golf Course out here, Dan, and just by myself and wait for somebody to come, and I'd get to spend the whole afternoon with 3 or 4 guys I'd never met before. Wow. It was time very well spent.
Yep.
So do something new on a regular basis.
The way I would summarize this is this. Don't become the pastor who's complaining about the fact that people aren't coming to our church.
Oh, amen.
And if they do come once in a while, they don't stick.
All right.
You got to throw that attitude away, man. You go to the people.
Right.
You go to the community.
Right.
And you fight for souls, man. You pray for people. And when people don't want to hang around with you, you say God bless them, and you go hang out with some new people.
That's right.
But you don't sit around and complain. That's why our churches are dying, man.
That's right.
Because we're saying, well, they're the problem. No, they're not the problem. They're the mission field. And they're the people God has sent you to reach with the gospel.
And if the more you love Jesus, the more you'll love your community.
Amen.
So put your love to Him. Do these things that Sam talks about in this article. Start loving your community as a pastor, and then you can lead your people to authentically love the community and not to inauthentically love it just to grow your church.
Amen. That's
all
right.
Wow, what a podcast today. I love this. This is the kind of stuff that every time you guys said something, I thought, oh, it reminded me of something, that I wanted to, it's like we could have gone on and on and on with this one. Anyway, I hope that this was a blessing to you and that you'll join us again. We have lots of topics like this that we like to talk about, and we'd love to hear from you. Feel free, if you can you want to go on our Facebook page, there you can leave messages, and if we like them, we'll leave them. If we don't, we'll delete them. That's kind of our motto.
That's right.
And but we'd love to hear from you. Thanks to the North American Mission Board for making this possible.
Thanks for joining us today on Revitalize and Replant. This podcast is brought to you by the North American Mission Board, where we help dying or struggling churches regain health for the glory of God and the good of their communities. If you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. To learn more about becoming a replanting pastor or to explore resources about revitalization for your own church, visit churchreplanters.com.